Why, hello, pre-algebra class. This is Mr. Chow for Mr. Chow Time. Using the percent equation, lesson 2. 261 if you're following along. All right, percent equation. What is that? Well, last time we talked about the percent proportion. And the percent proportion was the part over the whole equals the percent over 100. Well, as we might know at this point, the percent can be written as a decimal, right? So for example, 0.01. This is 1% because we've taken the decimal point and we've moved it over 2 times, and that gives us 1, and that's the percent, right? So 0.15 is 15%, and 1.15 is 115%. So instead of writing the ratio, we can just write this as a decimal, right? We can write part over whole equals the percent as a decimal. And if we did that, we can move this whole to not have a ratio anymore, right? We can multiply both the left and the right side by the whole. Because as long as we multiply the same thing on both sides of an equal sign, then everything's fine. So the wholes cancel out here, and on the left side, all we have left is part. And on the right side, now we have percent as a decimal times the whole. And this is the percent equation. So let's take a look at how we use it. So I'm not even going to erase this. I'm just going to move on to the next page, and then I will erase some of these things. Oh, I should have just rewritten this. I regret my decision already. Okay, here we go. So here's our percent equation. So let's use it on this. Find 62% of 75. Of tells us that we're looking at the whole, right? So that goes on the right side of the equation, 75. And then we're going to multiply that by 0.62 because this is our percent as a decimal. And that's going to give us our part. Excuse me. So 0.62 times 75 is 46.5. And that is our part. 46.5. That's a 4, by the way. 46.5 is 62% of 75. Okay. Next slide. Your turn. Find 60% of 96. So, of 96 tells us that 96 is the total. We're going to multiply that by 0.6, and that's going to give us the part. So instead of writing part, I'm just going to write x, and x equals the part in this problem, right? This is called defining the variable. And in word problems especially, you're going to want to do this. But in this, it's not quite as big a deal. So 0.6 times 96 is 57.6, and that is the part. Last one, 45% is 0.5 multiplied by 70 gives us the part, and that is 31.5. Okay, well done, y'all. Moving on. So let's say that we're trying to find the percent, right? So now the percent is going to be equal to the x. So of 410, so 410 is on, the right hand side of the equation, of the equal sign, rather. 287 is on the left. So we divide both sides by 410, and that gives us 0.7, which is 70%. Written as a percent, right? 0.7. These two things are equal. Okay. 15 is what percent? So this is going to be our x. So 125 is our total. 125x equals 15. Divide by 125. X equals 0.12. So 12%. One last your turn for this example. 20 is what percent of 400? So this is how we're going to write the percent equation. Divide both sides by 400, and that is 0.5. Nope, 0.05 equals x. So that's 5%. Okay. Last example in this section. 33 is 55% of what number? Of what number? So this is the total now, right? Our total is the x. That's the number we're looking for. So 0.55x equals 33. Divide both sides by 0.55. And x equals 60. Your turn. 18 is 30% of what number? X equals 60 again. Is that right? Let me see. Yeah, it is. Oh, goodness. Okay. Lastly, 79 is 80% of what number? Divide both sides by 0.8, and x equals 98.75. That's the total. Okay. So here is a little summary. If you're finding the percent, remember that it's going to say what percent. If you're finding the part, it'll say what number. If you're finding the whole, it'll say of what number. But I should also warn you that in a word problem, things are not always going to be written exactly in this language. And you'll have to figure out what the question is asking you. It's not always going to be as plain as this. These are just examples. So let's take a look at an example of when it doesn't look exactly like this. Let's say that a meal at the Hanshin Harbor buffet costs $850. If a 6% tip is added, what is the total cost? So is this asking for a part or a whole or a percent? Well, it's a little bit tricky because $850 is the cost of the meal, but not the final cost, not the final whole cost, right? And 6% is a percent, but it's not 6% of the whole or 6% of the part. It's 6% tip. And so this 6% is 6% of the whole, but that's going to give you the part and not the whole total. Now, this might not have made any sense, so I'm going to write a little thing over here. When you go to a meal, you pay the total cost before tip, right? This is your bill. Actually, I'm not going to call it total cost. I shouldn't call it that. Sorry. I'm going to call this the cost of your bill, right? When you go to Maidan. And then At some places, they add a tip on top of that. And the tip is 6%. So they're going to add a 6% tip. And then that's going to give you the total cost. Right, so how much is the 6% tip? Well, that is basically the part. So we can do this one of two ways, and I'll show you both ways. So we could take 850. That is our whole, and we can multiply it by 0.6%, and this will give us the part, which is the cost of the tip, basically. And so let's see what that is. 0.06. Oh, I wrote this wrong. This should be 0.06 times 850, and that's $51. And this $51 is the tip, right? So we have to add that to the bill, which is $851. I'm sorry, $850. What am I doing here? So that's going to be $901. So this is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is looking at 6% and saying that the total cost is going to be 106% of the total cost of the bill, which is 100%, right? The cost of the bill is 100%. Then you add another 6%, that's going to be 106%, right? So if we take 850 and we multiply it directly by 1.06, then we take this step of adding out, basically. And this gives us the same thing, 901. And I'm just going to make sure that that's true and I didn't do something wrong. 850 times 0.06, I'm sorry, 1.06 is 901. Yeah. And so this is your total bill, $901. What is the total cost? $901 to eat at the harbor. Yum. Okay, your turn. So let's say that I bought a house, and 5 years later, I sold it for 24% profit. Profit is money that you make. You know, so for example, let's say I go to the Costco and I buy a Snickers bar and I buy it for $5. And then I come to school and I sell it for $10. I've made a $5 profit because I paid $5 and I got $10. So I made $5. So first question, how smart was Mr. Chow? Well, the answer is very smart. Second question, which is more important, what was the sale price of the house? If I bought it for $175 and then I sold it for 24% more, then what was the total cost? Well, this is another example of when you can use 1.24 instead of doing 0.24, multiplying it by this and then adding it back to that, right? So we can multiply 1.24 by 175,000, and that will give you the sale price of the house. And what is that? Well, that's $217,000. Now, you could have also taken 175 and multiplied it by 0.24, and then that would have given you the amount of profit, how much money I made. And then you would add that back to the house to get the sale price. Now, if I had asked you what was the amount of profit, then that's what you would have done, if that all made sense. Okay, so here's another example. Mr. Gulas bought a new cycling computer for $13,889. The computer had a sticker price of $12,920. Sticker price is something that you don't really see here in Taiwan because the sticker price is the total price here. But so let me explain what this means. In places like the US, when you go to buy something, they'll have a price on the thing, and this will be the price, $12,920. But when you go to pay for it, it costs more than that, because what they do is they take this amount and then they add tax. And that gives you the actual amount that you pay. When you go pay, it's actually this amount. So the price on things is not the price that you pay. And the reason for that is because, well, there's not really a good reason, but basically the tax is not included. And so, you know, anytime that goods or services, anytime that someone sells something in a store, the government wants some money too. And that happens here. But here, they just show you the final cost. They don't show you the price before tax. But anyway, this is how it works there. So the taxed amount, what percent did he pay? Well, we can't use these numbers to find that, right? First, we have to take 13,889 and subtract $12,920 because we need to find out how much the tax was. And so I'm going to do that really quick. 13,889 minus 12,920, and that's $969. So this is the amount of tax that's paid. So if we look at our percent equation, it's part equals percent written as a decimal times the whole. So our whole here is 13,889. And I'm sorry, no, 12,920. Sorry, it's been so long since I've dealt with taxes. Okay, 12,920. That is our whole, that's the amount of money the thing costs, right? And then the percent tax that we pay on the whole item is going to be $969, which then we're going to add to the whole price to get the final price. I know, it's very confusing. So, or maybe it's not. Maybe you've got this and it's not confusing at all. So we put this into the equation. 969 equals 12,920x. Then we divide 12,920 on both sides. 969 divided by 12,920. And we get 0.075. So this is 7.5% tax. So what's happened is that he goes to the store, he sees that this computer that goes on his handlebars of his bike costs 12,920, and then he has to pay another 7.5% tax, which ends up being $969, which then gets added to the price, the sticker price, to get the amount of money he actually pays. Isn't that great? Your turn. Let's say that a $4,500 mixer sold, is what that's supposed to say, sold for $47.70 with tax. What is the percent of sales tax? So again, we have $47.70. This is the final amount that's paid. And we have to subtract $4,500 from this to find the amount of taxes. This is the taxes paid. So of the total price, how much is this? So 270 equals 4,500x. And x then equals 0.06, which is 6%. That's how much taxes were. Now, this whole tax thing, I know it's confusing, and I think it's like weird to think about, but we still have to do it. So practice this. If you're not getting this, you might want to do some more in the must do. Speaking of the must do, here it is. All right, good luck. Goodbye.